What's going on, folks? Ted from Immersion here, and it's finally time to get back to talking about Kobold Press's Tales of the Valiant. I want to say a couple of things. One, I want to apologize to all of you who are wondering where Tales of the Valiant content has been, as well as I also want to apologize to Kobold Press for not making content about it. Now, I want you all to be aware that I'm under no obligation, monetarily or otherwise, to make videos about Tales of the Valiant. But I was making pretty consistent videos about it, about once a week, if not more so, as things were happening earlier in the year. And part of that is because of the transition away from the way they were doing things. They were dropping new content every Friday, calling them Black Flag Fridays, then Valiant Fridays after the name changed. And that was really easy for me as a content creator to just know content's going to drop on Friday. I'm going to make a video on Friday. That's how that goes. They changed it up after the Kickstarter followed up to just do updates kind of via the Kickstarter. And I'm going to be honest with you, I do not like getting updates via Kickstarter. I just forget that they're there. And we'll talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But they did release something really interesting earlier this week called the Black Flag Reference Document, or the BFRD. Now, if you're familiar, if you know what happened in January, you know the biggest deal was the whole OGL possibly going away, and then the ultimate win of the SRD 5.1, or Wizards of the Coast System Reference Document 5.1, being added into Creative Commons. Now, what that means, and again, I've done videos on it, so many other people have done videos on it, I won't belabor the point too much, but basically what that meant is any of the things contained in that document being put into Creative Commons means that anybody can create stuff for that with just a simple attribution added into the document to say, hey, we're using the SRD 5.1, which is essentially a whole chunk of the base rules of 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. All the main rules of 5e, all of the classes from the 2014 Player's Handbook, as well as one subclass, feat, background to give you that idea how they work, a bunch of monsters, some magic items, and so on. But with that, Kobold Press used that to sort of expand and evolve that into what was originally called Project Black Flag, and then has ultimately been switched and named up to Tales of the Valiant. So they have released their reference document, which if you want to create content within the Tales of the Valiant system, you can do so with the Black Flag reference document. I also really like that they're calling it the Black Flag role-playing reference document, because we changed the name away from Project Black Flag to Tales of the Valiant, but it's nice to see that sort of, callback to the original name in this document. So there is a link that I'll have down in the video description. It takes you to this page on Kobold Press's website. By the way, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, if you like this kind of stuff. And it'll ultimately take you to this document. Now, I'm not going to go through this because essentially this is the alpha release that many of us have already received. I have a physical copy. A handful of people have physical copies. It was also kind of sent out to everybody. I believe it's available for free. We probably can even find it if we go search around Kobold Press's website a little bit. And the alpha release provides you basically everything Kobold Press had done at the time, which is as what you can see here, right? It'll give you 4 of the classes up to level 5 with at least one subclass for each. Lineages and heritage, which are their sort of a race replacement. Lineage is more your biological aspects. Heritage is more your cultural aspects. Backgrounds, talents is what they're calling, or their replacement name for what feats are going to be, and those are broken down into a couple of subcategories. Their luck mechanic, and then you get into more things like armor and equipment. And then most importantly, I think one of the coolest things that was released in the alpha was the magic items, because they actually give you legitimate pricing for all of your magic items. Like, not squirrely, maybe you sell it to this person for a number of downtime days and then get a percentage of it. No, just like, I want to buy a bag of holding, it's 1,000 gold. Also, I like that they increased your attunement for magic items equal to your proficiency bonus. I think that's pretty cool. They use rings as opposed to levels for spells, and there's spells of different circles, like, spell ring, first ring, second ring, so on. And I like this because I actually saw something going around Twitter where people were complaining that there were too many uses of the word level in uh, 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, which I didn't think was really an issue, but apparently it is. Character level, spell level. I feel like the bigger issue was inspiration, right? Bardic inspiration, regular inspiration. That's why Wizards of the Coast changed it to Bardic Inspiration as Bardic Inspiration, and Heroic Advantage is their new name. But anyway, and then there's obviously a handful of monsters. A bunch of these are, again, monsters from the SRD, expanded. Some of them tweaked slightly, but lore added, and then some new monsters added as well. And then an appendices with the conditions. So I'm not going to go through this. This is the entirety of the alpha release. But what's cool is if you want to make content for Tales of the Valiant, which is a difference from what's in the SRD 5.1, though if you were to scroll up, you will see, scroll down, that it does have the attribution that's required that says it does use the system reference document. Also, it is released under the Orc license. If you're familiar with what that is, that was the license developed by Paizo in conjunction with Azora Law to kind of have a license that was not being held by anybody for people to publish their things under as well. I've reviewed this in the past iterations of the Orc license with my lawyer friend on the channel here, but I believe a finalized version of the Orc license has been released. So if you're interested and would like to see me cover that and kind of just talk about what's different and get a lawyer's perspective on the good, the bad, and the ugly of the Orc license, let me know and I can schedule a video for that at some point in the future. But pretty cool to see Kobold Press release a reference document this early, even while the game itself is still in alpha. If you're looking to create your own unique content within the world of Project Black Flag / Tales of the Valiant, you have a document to do so. It flat out says right here, this is the first of many iterations of the BFRD. This obviously is only with the alpha release, and since the release of this, they have released into playtesting a variety of other classes. And that's actually something I wanted to talk to you about, because for what I saw, I was like, oh, I guess they just stopped releasing things. Because the last I saw was the Kobolds and Small Folk. We did that a while back. And then there was one in August that kind of got lost in the shuffle from Gen Con and things that was basically the Cleric from level 1 to 20. So you could kind of see that, because previously we'd only kind of focused on levels 1 through 5. And all those classes that are in the BFRD are level 1 through 5, because that was the alpha release. But apparently, just kind of recently finding this out myself, several of the other classes, including their Mechanist, which is their version of the Artificer, their Ranger, their Druid, their Warlock, their Bard, all of those have been released to backers of Tales of the Valiant, but they live in a place that I never check, which is my Kickstarter update page. I just don't go look at it, and when things release to that page, it's just a void for me. And I'll show you what I'm talking about, because maybe it's just me, but it kind of becomes just a place I don't check. And if that's the case, I'm missing out on all this stuff, and I do apologize if you were looking for me to cover this or talk about it. But here we go. So if I go to the Kickstarter page for Tales of the Valiant, here it is, right? And it's got all the stuff, blah, 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 right? Raised all this money. And then there's like the rewards, right? You know, what I got for what I backed at. But right here is an updates page. Now, if I clicked this update page, I would learn that if I scroll down, so for this says the reference document and 4 new class icons, right? So there's the document we were just talking about. And then if we scroll down, it shows these are the class icons for the Mechanist, the Warlock, the Paladin, and the Bard. Cool, right? Now, if we were to go back to all updates and scroll down, we can see that a couple things have been released, some adventures, some more class icons. But look at this. August 18th, the August playtest is available. Now, if I click this, it'll show you, if I can get to the top, I don't know why it clicked down to the bottom, but the public playtest packet that we received in August was Clerics level 1 to 20. But the backer-only packet was the Bard, the Mechanist, the Warlock, and other related lineages. Did not know this was here, and I should have been covering this kind of stuff in the past. It just completely slipped my mind. There's another one that has the Primeval spell list as well as the Druid and the Ranger. I want to talk about it. They did some amazing stuff with the Bard. That was one thing that I really missed from 3.5, which was bardic performances. Like, you still have inspiration as a mechanic, but like you can do a performance and it does things. And I really like that a lot. And that can lend itself well to subclass generation, I think, as well. I also like that their Mechanist, their Artificer replacement, it's a D10 hit die. That's pretty cool. I want to talk about all this stuff, and I will cover this in the future. Let me know if you're interested. But yeah, that Kickstarter update page for any Kickstarter I've ever backed, I'm probably, now that I've looked at it, I dread to think how many things I've missed from previous Kickstarters that are just in that void space of update land. If it doesn't send to me in a specific email or something like that, or appear as like a Kickstarter message that's actually pops up, that page might as well not exist for me. So I'll also use this as a PSA for all of you. Make sure you check your Kickstarter update pages. There might actually be some useful stuff there. So anyway, the BFRD exists. It's pretty awesome if you want to create your own Black Flag content or Tales of the Valiant content. That's pretty cool to see. But this is the kind of stuff I expect from the team over at Cobalt Press. But yeah, let me know. Would you want to see me go back and cover some of this stuff? It might be old hat for a lot of you, since apparently you've been looking at the Ranger since when? Let's see. The Ranger was released. Was it released alongside the Alpha? I think that's what happened, and I just didn't realize it. So the Alpha was released July 17th. Is that correct? Yeah, I think the Alpha was released July 17th. And there might have been playtest stuff differently from that. Either way, the Ranger and the Druid have been out there for a while, and I just didn't realize that that was the case, and I feel bad, because I'm very curious. I have a deep affinity for wanting the Rangers to be done well, but yeah, I want to cover all this stuff, so let me know if you're interested. Like I said, some of it may be old news to you if you're tracking your update tab on Kickstarter, but there you go. Also, I'll just throw it out there. I might make a separate video. For those of you wondering about my deck, I have an excavator. I'm currently digging out all of my footings at the moment, so that's where I'm at with that. Maybe I'll film some video of me doing that and then doing all the concreting, and then we'll actually be into actual construction of the deck, which is the more interesting part. So anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Once again, apologize for not making more Tales of the Valiant content. More to come in the future. See you next time.